Hey, everybody, it's Scott Steen with winnersandwhiners.com coming to you with the Hump Day edition of Today in Sports Betting. Going to be taking a look at the NBA play-in games with my pal Scott Reichel. Scott, we're headed west after a less than exciting opening night for the play-in.
Those games are fantastic, right? I mean, both games are blowouts from start to finish, basically.
Well, I had neither one of them correct, so
the halftime game was close. The halftime was close at the Wizards game, and then the second half happened. And I think Westbrook's injured. Man couldn't move. If you watched any of the game,
I didn't. I was watching another terrible game in person. So
he was. Well, your Royals won, so whatever that means for you. But anyway,
hit to my bankroll is what it meant.
Yeah. Anyway, Westbrook was kind of. I don't want to say he was crawling out there, but you can tell he definitely wasn't at 100% because he was just walking it out. And yeah, they got killed. Tatum at 50, and both games were double-digit wins by the home team. So I'm not sure if that's a trend to keep in mind, but definitely something to keep in mind.
I don't know if you should keep it in mind, but keep it in mind.
Yep.
All right, so we head to the west and take a look.
What, do you think that's something that's not worth keeping in mind?
What's that?
You think that the home court with a playoff?
No, it was just funny the way you said it.
Oh, I know. I'm just saying.
It might be something to keep in mind, so keep it in mind.
I'm just saying, do you think that's something worth keeping in mind?
Yes, I think that's absolutely something you should keep in mind.
The Pacers were awful at home all year long, and yet they looked really, really comfortable. Yeah, and Charlotte looked like they didn't want to be there.
It was weird. It was very weird. I thought there'd be a little more defense from the Hornets. I really did.
Well, the problem with that was offense because they couldn't score for the first 24 minutes against Indiana.
Right.
And they realized, wait a second, we can score, but we can't guard anybody. And that's how that game worked out. But what did Indiana score? 144? Scored like 78 points in the second half or something?
Yeah, 144, right, correct.
Disgusting.
Not good when you got the under.
Yeah, the Washington under saves me. But, for the sides, wasn't great, even though I thought that Boston line was a bit trappy, but I still looked at Washington. But I looked at the under and Westbrook's injury. You could tell that game was going under in the first quarter.
I got to tell you, I didn't mind missing those two basketball games.
I don't think anybody did.
It was a good night to go to the game. I'm much more interested in seeing both of these games.
The NBA is praying that at least one of these games are close because if they're not, this was a huge waste of time.
Yeah,
especially if the home team wins all these. I mean, then you're just going to have a complete waste of time.
Yeah, and I think we're setting up well for the home team to win both games in this one too.
I personally agree, but we'll talk about those right now.
Short video, everybody. Good night.
Yeah.
Spurs Grizzlies. Scott opened up Grizzlies -3.5. It's now pretty much 4 market wide. You can still find a little 3.5 out there if you look hard. 86% of the money is coming in on the Grizz, and 71% of the money is coming in on the on the under, and the number there has gone from 225 down to 222.
Yeah, I think that's the main piece of advice I'm going to give out for just the playoffs in general. If you see opening lines for playoff games and you want to bet the under, do it now. Because every game that you've seen has had a ton of under money. It's been an avalanche.
Can you explain the under in this one to me, Scott?
It's a playoff game, and they're expecting better defense. I don't really know why, but they're expecting better defense, ?
Here's what troubles me is this Popovich defense isn't great. They're 19th in the league in defensive efficiency. But the part that's most likely going to give them a lot of trouble against the Spurs is the fact that they against the Grizzlies is the fact that they have the 5th worst defense in the paint. And Scott, who scores more points in the paint than the Grizzlies?
I'm assuming nobody, because Valanciunas does whatever he wants.
That's exactly right. Nobody. Valanciunas, we got Morant swooping in there, and I don't know where the under money's coming on. I don't know what they're looking at. So it'll be interesting to see how this one plays out.
Just remember, there was under money on a Pacers game today.
Well, yeah, that's true. And we some of it came from me. So
I'm just in general though. So people are going to blindly bet the under regardless, especially in game 1 of a series. And sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't. Tale of what happened yesterday because one of the games went over, one of the games went under.
Right.
But that's why I think you're going to get under money in pretty much every game. They're just assuming that both teams will either flip a switch defensively or the refs will stop calling all the flop fouls and stuff like that, and you're going to see some basketball. But I'm not taking the under in this game.
No, not a chance. far as the side goes, I like the Grizz here. I think this is a Spurs team that hasn't played a meaningful basketball game in about 2 weeks since they were one of the early qualifiers for the playoffs and or play
So
in.
is it a bad sign that they've lost 4 in a row going into the playoffs? Is that not good? Is that something that they should?
I wouldn't. Normally I would look at that, but in this situation, they were playing meaningless games, and like the game they played against San Diego. I'm against San Diego. Yeah, say your age without saying your age. Without the game they played against the Clippers didn't start anybody. So I don't know, and the fact that they didn't do well in that game, that might tell you something.
Clippers, when was that?
I'm sorry, the Suns. I'm sorry, I missed
Phoenix?
the Suns, not the Clippers. Yeah, in the last game.
Yeah,
and they ended up losing that game. So
that's the thing. Grizzlies had a pretty good run going against some pretty bad teams. Am I going to roast them for losing to Golden State on the road? No, because Golden State's one of the hottest teams in the league, and Memphis was within striking distance with about, 6 minutes to go.
Yeah.
Then the wheels fell off, but at least they hung in there.
Yeah, and of course that was a game that they had to have. And I know everybody's probably looking at the trends for the Grizz. They have seen the under cash in 6 of the last 7. I'm not. That's not something that concerns me. It really isn't.
I think if you were going to look for an under, if you wanted to torture yourself, Spurs team total under, because Memphis at times can actually play defense. San Antonio cannot. If you've watched them play.
Yeah, that's true, and I don't think they're going to do much in the paint either.
I don't.
So, yeah, that's solid. So
I like Memphis anyway. Looking at Popovich, I know that he's an all-time great coach. So far this year, I don't think he's done a very good job.
He just doesn't look like he's hitting on all cylinders.
It's not on all cylinders. His team's terrible in close games late. I don't really know what Popovich does half the time in the fourth quarter, besides tell his players to give the ball to DeRozan every play, and they just go ISO every single play for about the final 5 minutes. And
the Spurs may have the best player on the court in DeRozan, but the Grizzlies probably have, 2 through 5?
Yeah. You're going through with Morant. You got Valanciunas. Even Jaren Jackson's been good since he came back. Dylan Brooks has been good this season.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah,
I just think San Antonio's not very good.
Yep, agreed. All right. So now, Scott, we'll move on to the game that everybody's been talking about. Of course, it's the one getting all the press. That's the Warriors and the Lakers. Lakers at home opened up at 4.5. It is now at 5.
Do you think this game's actually going to be good, or do you think it's going to turn into a blowout?
Well,
this has all the makings of a high-profile TV game with a ton of hype.
Clunker.
It lives up to absolutely none of it.
Clunker. Yeah, it's going to be. Can the Lakers throw the switch game?
Yeah,
it's going to be is what we're going to see here. So it depends on how the Lakers defense plays. If that defense plays as well as it's played most of the season, could be a long night for Golden State.
Well, look at the last 2 meetings between these two teams. Lakers killed them.
Yeah, it
wasn't even close.
Yeah, not good at all. And the weird thing about those games, those last 2 games, Anthony Davis didn't play.
Yeah.
But, that's the thing. And the other thing is Curry didn't play well against the Lakers in any of those 3 games. He never broke 30, averaged just 23 points per game in those three. In
his defense, he got pulled a couple of times. They were already getting buried.
Oh, okay.
But, yeah, he didn't really make much of an impact. But, once again, it's a question of, can the Lakers force the ball out of Steph's hands and dare people like, Toscano Anderson and Wiggins to make some shots from the outside? Because Curry had 46 against Memphis. Teams try to get the ball out of his hands, and that they can't stop him. But it seems like the Lakers have done it pretty well in the past. If Curry has an off game, they're going to get killed.
Well, and, part of that is being forced into an off game.
Correct.
Not necessarily his doing, but
I wasn't saying that Curry was awful by design. I'm just saying that the Lakers seem to have an answer for him in the regular season. But I'm kind of viewing this game similarly to the way that I viewed the Celtics game yesterday, which was if you like the Celtics to win or if you like the Warriors to win, parlay it with a Curry over. Because they're only going to win if their best player scores a bunch of points.
Yeah, if you can get a correlated parlay like that, that's absolutely a decent play.
I think you'd agree if Curry has, let's just say even has 25. They're not winning this game.
No. They're not winning this game if he has less than 40.
So I'll say 35 to be generous, but yeah.
Okay. Yeah, only if Wiggins has 20 plus.
That's fair.
All right. I've got a premium on the side. But as far as the total goes, I'll weigh in, and I know you're thinking the same way. I think the under money's right in this case. I think we've got one over and one under, just like we had tonight or last night rather. And I like the Lakers under, and I'm going to grab it quick at 219.5.
I have to like the under. I mean, the way that I'm looking at it is once again similar to how I described the Celtics game yesterday, which was one team plays really fast, one team plays very slow. Whichever team dominates the pace is going to dominate the game. Celtics slow the pace down. Game flew under, and Wizards scored, 100 points?
Yeah, and we talked about that, how it's easier to slow a team down than it is to speed a team up. You can't.
Now, some of that has to do with the fact that Westbrook got injured and stuff like that, but the last two meetings, the Warriors haven't even scored 98 points.
Right.
I can't take an over.
Yep, 97. Yeah, 188 points in 2 games. That ain't good.
Correct. So I have to like the under there. Warriors team total under as well. Game in Staples, I do think helps a lot for the Lakers, especially since there should be a decent crowd there.
Yeah.
Since it is a playing game with LeBron and AD back. But it's going to be LeBron's first game in the Staples Center in 2 weeks? 2.5 weeks?
Yeah, that sounds right.
They played the Pacers and they were on the road.
Right.
And they played New Orleans, but I don't remember if that was at home or not.
Yeah, I don't know who's going to stop AD. I really don't.
I don't either. I think that if you are expecting a player prop that you want to take with the Lakers, I saw LeBron's points is at like 25.5. That's way too high. I think that's way too high, especially with the fact that he apparently re-aggravated his ankle. I see Davis having 30 or more. It's really however many he wants to have, because Looney can't guard him, Draymond can't guard him, and nobody else can guard him. So if Davis just simply gets to his spot, which he should, he can easily go for about 35 if they keep him in for like a reasonable amount of time.
Yeah, I think that's certainly possible.
But I like that LeBron under. I like the Wiggins under. I saw Wiggins was at about 20.5 on FanDuel, like minus 116. I like the under there. He's played against the Lakers 3 times, averaging 12 points per game.
Yep.
As a whole, he had a good game against Phoenix, of course, at 38. Ended up having a pretty good game against Memphis, but took a decent amount of shots, shot pretty efficiently, which is not what Andrew Wiggins does. And who's going to guard him? LeBron?
I think we know better than that.
I'm just saying I don't really know who's going to end up guarding him, but I do think that the Lakers defense, which is one of the best defenses in the league, probably the best defense in the league.
They are first in defensive efficiency, and the part that I like about them in this matchup is their fourth and 3-point defense.
Maybe it's also because I don't like Wiggins, and I just have never seen him play well in a relatively big game. But
well, he was a KU kid, so I hate him. So.
I wouldn't be surprised to see Wiggins be terrible today.
I certainly hope.
20.5, I got to like the under there.
All right, there you go. All right, guys, as always, if you're looking for more information on these games, we've got some detailed write-ups and predictions over there at winnersandwhiners.com. Don't forget to stop by and check those out. And, we wish you guys nothing but the best, not just on these plays, but on all your plays. Hope every ticket in your pocket turns into cash money when you head back to the window. You guys have a great day. Stay tuned. We'll be talking baseball around the corner, and we'll see you over there on Today in Sports Betting. Take care. Clear.